Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Climate Protection Work Group to order on May 12th. I'll start with our land acknowledgement. On Tuesday, May 12th, we acknowledge that this sacred land in which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might be here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing upon the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. We do have regrets from Mayor Pankow, and we're just waiting for Peter Howe to join us, but Steve is online and the rest of the committee's here. I'll seek a motion to approve the agenda as circulated, moved by Nate, seconded by Sue, that the agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? And that's carried, thank you. The minutes of March 10th, if people had a chance to look at them, and if so, do you have any comments or corrections? Seeing none, I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes of March 10th, moved by Sue, seconded by Nate. All in favor? And again, that's carried, thank you. With that agenda in mind, please, if you have any declaration of monetary interest or conflict of interest, now would be a good time to bring it forward. And hearing none, we're going to move on to Richard, who's going to talk about our open house plan.
Yes.
Welcome.
Okay, so we will be having an open house for the draft climate action plan on May 26th, which is a Tuesday, and it will be at the Memorial Community Center, and it will be upstairs Yeah. We will also have a tree giveaway, courtesy of Digging It Nursery, and there'll be EV demonstration in the front of the parking lot. So we have at least 3 vendors.
And CNL will be there.
Yes, and CNL will also be there having a table talking about energy reduction and retrofitting.
And funding for all of those things.
Now, Richard, could you tell us what what is the format for the event? Is it formal or a walk around?
It's more of an informal walk around, so you'll have an opportunity to engage with staff, and there will be information available to talk about different recommendations that the plan is discussing. And you can come whenever between 5 and 6:30. The event starts at 4:30, but a portion of it will have an EV demonstration in the parking lot from 4:30 to 5, and then from 5 till 6:30 we'll have everyone upstairs talking about the plan.
And who will they be talking to when the public comes out?
So they'll be talking to staff about the climate action plan, as well as committee members who would like to join.
Right. Okay. Any other questions on that? I am curious to know how we are going to promote it.
So we've been promoting through the normal channels, such as our Facebook page and through the Record Journal and the Hometown News when we can.
With the big flag tree giveaway.
Yes, all of those promotional details, yes.
That's great. Sue?
And maybe, Richard, you could give a couple of examples of the types of things that people will be or could be interested in commenting on from the plan?
So the plan has a lot of recommendations encouraging people to be more mindful for energy retrofitting for their homes. So if you're looking at including solar panels on your homes, if you're looking at insular windows, we'd have information on that. We'd also be talking about things such as backyard composting and just composting in general to get the public more mindful about just like reducing their waste, as well as other kind of workshops we could be putting on, such as for better retention for their homes.
And I think it's fair to say that some of the recommendations are focused on what the municipality can do, and the other half is focused on what our residents and businesses can do. And there's a lot they can do. So come out and learn about that. So wherever the camera is, please come out and learn about that. We'd love to have a good turnout.
And in terms of the content of the report, so how are people expected to make their comments? Is there a survey? Is there
Right. So there is a survey. So there's a survey open ahead of the open house where people can read the draft plan and give their feedback on different sections they'd like to do. So there are 3 questions that are really simple, and then there's a feedback section if you want to have a long form comment that the other questions can address. So it's meant to be really informal. You can also email staff if you have read the plan and want to have more of a in-depth conversation about some of the recommendations.
Great.
I'm not seeing any other questions on this. So thanks very much. Let's talk about the tree canopy bylaw update, please, Richard.
Okay. So we went forward to council and they had the impression that the best approach would be to focus on a combination of site alteration and clear cutting so that we would at least be managing property that would be typically outside of the development context. And so sort of preemptively just capturing all the things that council was looking for in terms of ensuring the appropriate removal of vegetation and also just protecting trees in general, but not so much over-regulating private property. So we would just be doing a bit of research before we kind of develop a bylaw that would be presenting to the committee for their perspective.
So I was there, maybe some of you saw that conversation. Where there was some hesitancy was to, now I think we could get into it when we see what draft you come back with for the next draft. But there was some hesitancy to, if a person cuts a tree down on their property, there are some communities that want to, you have to have a permit to do that. And so there wasn't an appetite at council to go that far. However, because there is a feeling that our residents, indeed most municipalities, people who live in them, treasure their trees, and I would say the vast majority recognize the value of having mature trees on their property. So they didn't feel they felt it would be too heavy-handed to impose something to force a private property owner into what they can do with their tree. On the other hand, there was some interest, and I don't know if this would come up, where we identify some very special or unique trees in our community, either from age or variety, or we have some rare, still alive elms. And the University of Guelph is still looking for elms that have survived the blight.
Right.
And they've been working for over 30 years on producing a new hybrid. And they're drawing, anyways, when we find those, we should flag and maybe just have a conversation if they're on private property about the value of that tree.
Right.
Nate?
I remember you mentioned the elms that had survived in a previous meeting, and I wanted to follow up on that. Do we have like an understanding of where they're located? Are they on private property? Or are they on town property? Because it would be awesome to propagate them, as long as we're propagating trees for planting. If we have a unique specimen that's able to survive elm blight, we could produce thousands of them quite easily, right?
There's not a formal, I know where 3 or 4 of them are, and they're on our public property.
They are, okay.
Yeah, these ones. And the University of Guelph has already done all the propagating, so.
Sure, I just mean for our town uses.
Yes,
I could tissue culture them, and like you can mass produce elms quite easily, and that would be an awesome way to, if we have a surviving specimen.
So I know where 4 of them are.
Okay.
And they're still alive, and we brought this up probably 7 years ago, that they were identified.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That would be a really cool opportunity, I guess. Is anything that can kind of differentiate as opposed to just giving out trees? If we have some special trees, and particularly something that has survived a plague, I think that would be really cool.
I think so too.
I think too we have some butternut here. I know at the Real Deal we planted butternut when we first took over, so that's like 20 years ago. And we got those as special seedlings through RVCA's butternut program, I think. And I don't know if some of them are still there. They were planted on top of the septic. They shouldn't have been.
Right.
But I also do remember hearing too that Smith Falls was home to some particular varieties of the linden tree that aren't that common. And so that could be something that's worth looking into also.
Sorry, linden?
Yeah.
Linden tree.
Yeah.
So what this is, beyond these important pieces of our new, we could talk about a section that talks, I don't know if you call it special trees or unique trees or rare or whatever that term is, maybe a paragraph or two, we could put our heads together, Richard, and see.
I mean, that's the thing. There's sometimes they call it heritage trees or trees of interest. They're different.
Trees of interest.
And the different terminology, really.
Right.
So long as they're defined in some way that's identifiable.
Specimens of particular value.
Yeah, something like that.
That's usually
could be
when it's in
ecological.
textbooks. That's usually how they refer to them as. They're like a huge part of the history of tree deforestation is just these plagues that have wiped through. We have all of these heritage apples that this used to be a really cool apple region, and most of them you can still grow the scions, but you need modern rootstocks because the rootstocks from 100 years ago can't survive with all the modern diseases that have come through. And it's actually a big issue for the disease resistance is a huge part of sustaining forestation. Sorry, while we're on the topic of the tree regulatory thing, in the previous meeting when we were discussing this, we touched on the specific objectives, and I think there was a if I might get these numbers wrong, but if memory serves, the council had made a plan to enhance by 5% every year.
Yeah.
And at the time when we were discussing it, one of the things I flagged was that rather than having it be a specific incremental 5% each year, if we focus on the destination we're aiming at, if we want an area to be 60% covered or 80% covered, starting with that and being explicit about where we're hoping to go would be probably a more efficacious way of navigating to that spot. After that meeting, I started thinking about it more, and because trees aren't static, they grow. For example, if we wanted to expand our canopy by 5% every year, there are some trees that just their rate of growth, they'll expand it by 5% every year or 10% every year. And we could decide one year where we want those numbers to be, plant baby trees all at once, and then for the next 2 decades, we would sustain that growth rate. And we could, you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be just entirely aspirational. It could actually be an actionable plan if we think about it in those terms.
Yes, I think the 5%. I mean, maybe they really did mean 5%, but I don't think realistically that's going to happen. I think at this point, like you said, we need more of a holistic plan that looks at growth all over town in a managed way, as opposed to just trying to do something rather quickly.
Indeed.
I know with the municipal election coming up this fall, that the new council, when they're elected, they'll be developing their own 4-year plan, and that's an excellent opportunity to enhance that or update that tree planting, because it's not going to go away. And I think we can do better than just a number. So when will you anticipate coming back? When your next draft, will it come here and then to committee of the whole, or will you send it?
I think it's best if you see it first, because I think the council will want to see the committee's perspective anyway, so why waste time? So I'll bring it forward to you guys just for information, and then if you guys have any general feedback, you can let me know before I go to council.
And do you have a timeline that you're thinking about?
So right now we are in May, so I would say either end of June.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Just in terms of the research and the framework.
So we'll probably have one more meeting of this group before summer then.
That's right.
All right.
Unless you guys are deciding to slow down in the summer, you let me know.
Sorry, so the draft the next draft will come back here before June?
Yes.
Or in June?
In June.
In June.
So when we meet in June, there'll be a discussion on the draft. Okay. So you'll have information on the research path that we've taken and the framework we've outlined.
So the tree canopy bylaw update, the next draft.
Yep.
All right. Steve, do you have anything you want to add? No?
Sorry, I was trouble getting off of mute. No, right now it's okay.
All right, thank you. Nate?
Sorry, just one more. When you're doing the event, if you're asking questions and taking feedback from the people that attend it, asking what people actually want the level of tree canopy to be, because I think Peter's absolutely right. The next council is going to be trying to craft a new thing, and that would I'd be fascinated to know, like, if you just ask people of Smiths Falls, like, what amount of tree cover would you prefer in this town? I honestly don't know if the answer would be like 80%, 50%, 20%. It would be fascinating to find out.
Yeah, interesting. Have to figure out how we can ask that question.
Okay, moving on, project update, is there anything?
No project updates. This
Okay.
is more likely the one.
So we're on to the round table. Anyone have anything they'd like to come in on?
I do.
Great, Sue. Please do.
Okay. So we are still planning to go ahead with the Smiths Falls Neighborhood Climate Concierge. I don't know why we are having such challenges here. We're now into our 4th group in Perth, about to go into our 5th. We're in our 3rd one in Almont, our 3rd one in Lanark Village. We have 2 people. We need like 10 to get Smiths Falls going. And it's not like there's a need here, right? And these are programs with funds for people to help them get free heat pumps, free insulation, subsidized other stuff. Like, what is it? What do we need to do to get people to be interested in this?
Especially if you're heating with oil.
Well, yes.
Wow.
If you are heating with oil, there's $10,000 to get off oil and have a heat pump. $10,000. I mean, this is just a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
And your gang will hold people's hands through it and
Yes.
help them walk right
Yes.
through it. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing about this program is it helps people gain confidence, so they know what they're talking about. They know how to talk to the contractors. They know what they're looking for, and they get money. Like, anyway, yes.
Sorry, just for clarification. So you have 2 people. That means you have 2 people who have signed up for the funding
Signed up
Who have
to
applied
do-
for the
to do
funding.
the program,
to do the program,
Concierge
which
program.
includes
which is
some funding.
Well, it could. If,
yeah. I mean, there's about 5 programs right now that provide funding and to take actions, right? And so in the course of our program, they learn about what they can do. They define what they want to do with expert help, and then can apply for all these funds. And we help them with that because the funds are stackable.
Mhm.
They are complex,
Mhm.
but they are stackable. And so we have 2 people who have signed up for this program, but that's it. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand
Are there-
why people in Smiths Falls are not responding to this the way
Are there income
other
limits?
depends on the program, but most of them are such that half of Lanark County and Smiths Falls are eligible. The limits are that high. So I'm sorry, Nate.
No worries. I don't have a perfect solution, but just in terms of just brainstorming, I've experienced just trying to talk about climate change in various communities, and you kind of have to meet people where they are, and
Oh, yeah.
not, and Smiths Falls is not in the same place on this subject that some of those other communities you listed were, but the approach that you take doesn't necessarily need to be static from one community to the next. And like, if the sign emphasized free money, and like start there, like it's not going to be hitting people over the head with value judgments. It's about like, how do we get you some free money to upgrade your stuff? That might be a more there, because the people tend to kind of retreat into their partisan corners on this subject, whereas almost everybody can be excited about free money and free upgrades. And that's, yeah.
We've spoken at the Monday lunch
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
low-income people. We've spoken at, I can't remember the proper name of that committee, right? Here.
Oh, yeah. This
Yeah,
falls for
like-
all.
Yes. We've done postering, we've done media. Yeah. So I don't know what to do. Anyway,
All right.
please tell people because it's there for the taking. And further on that, we're doing two sort of separated workshops coming up. And this program, by the way, is free. We do ask for $25 to cover materials reproduction, but that's a sliding scale, blah, blah, blah. So, you don't have to pay it if you don't have it, whatever. We have two particular workshops coming up, longer, half a day, one sort of thing. One is on building basics, so insulation, air sealing, what a home assessment is, that sort of thing. And in this day and age where energy prices, costs, especially fossil fuels, are just taking off like crazy and are not going to come down, that's something that we know, like conservation is the cheapest, easiest thing to do and is available and has money support behind it too. So that's one particular workshop coming up. That's on May the 30th. And then we're doing another workshop. We're just settling the details now on load displacement. And I will take a minute on this. Most people are somewhat, or they've heard of net metering, the idea of having solar panels on your roof, and you generate power and you feed that into the grid, into the system, and you get money back for that. Okay? That's been what's been in place now for a few years. People in this area are applying to do that, and they're getting turned down by hydro because there's not enough capacity on the lines. And if you think of electricity flow in the lines as being like water, once you fill up the lines with water, you can't add more water. Okay? So that's why they're being turned down, is because the lines are full. What's happened now is that Hydro One has brought out a program called load displacement. And there's funding support for this too. And it is a combination of solar panels on your roof and a storage battery in your house. And the storage battery can be similar to an EV battery, the type of battery that's in an EV car, okay? And so what happens then is that you are generating electricity through the solar panels. They're pumping the power into the battery, not into the grid, into the battery. And then you draw the power out of that battery when you need it. So if you think of getting solar energy into that battery when it's sunny, when it's shining, and then you're drawing the power out when you need it, that's one thing. But the other thing that you can do too is you can be drawing power from the grid overnight at the cheap rate, which I think is about 3.6 cents a kilowatt hour, and putting that into your battery and then using that power during the day. Okay, so there's two ways of approaching this. And you end up then saving a lot of money. And you aren't shut out of connecting to hydro because you're not trying to push power into the grid. You're using it. Is that making sense? This is really radical, really radical. And so we're going to be doing a workshop on that before the middle of June. We're just finalizing the details. And we have a fabulous speaker who's an electrician and a solar guy. And anyway, that's what we're doing.
And maybe next year it'll be part of the concierge program.
Oh, it already is.
It already is, okay?
Yeah, the piece,
Yeah.
this bigger workshop that we're going to do on this is, people want a bit more detail, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's great. Nate, do you want to?
Yeah, on the topic of batteries, there's a very low tech battery. They call them water batteries, but literally all it is using gravity and the weight of water to turn turbines. And it's used in all kinds of circumstances. I've seen things on like hilly properties where they'll take a large water reservoir at the top of a hill and use a solar pump to slowly fill it with water, and then during peak power demand they drain it, and then just gravity pours the water down and it can turn turbines. Anyways, I was looking at the discussion around what we do with our water tower, and it's in the perfect location to be deployed in that manner. And we have the decommissioned water pump system right adjacent to it, and you could just use hydrostatic pumps, so like no electricity needed. The water pressure from going down the river can slowly fill up the water in the reservoir, and then during peak time you flick a switch and it starts to come down and produces free electricity. It can be repeated every day. It's like a very sustainable way of reducing our demand during peak power usage. And something to keep in mind in the Ontario power grid, the carbon footprint of electricity changes throughout the day. And for most of the evening and most of the non-peak times, what we have in terms of nuclear and water power meets the needs. And so the carbon footprint of electricity drops to nearly zero, if not zero. And then there's this peak time especially during the summertime when everyone's blasting their AC, when all of the fossil fuel type energy sources kick in to basically fill the gap that isn't quite met by all of the carbon neutral technologies. So to the extent that we can swoop in at that moment, like Sue was describing with using home-based batteries, but that can also be done with the water tower. It can be done with other things that can radically lower the carbon footprint of electricity.
Any other roundtable items? Okay. Now we have June 9th scheduled.
Right.
Do you have a draft bylaw by then?
It wouldn't be a draft bylaw. It would be a framework. This would be the research. So the bylaw wouldn't be ready
Oh, okay.
comment by then. It would just be more discussion on what would be the content.
Okay. So let's hold that
Okay.
date, and
We'll hold it until there's a draft bylaw.
well, I thought you said end of June, so I was either going to change this date till late June or something,
Let's look at a calendar.
or until you say I have a draft ready for discussion, and then we would pick the date.
Right.
Once you know closer to when you're going to have something for us to look at.
Okay, I'll let you know then.
All right.
So we're gonna hold, sorry.
We'll hold June 9th,
Yeah, hold on.
and if it has to change, because that would be the focus of that meeting, would be
Yes.
this. Okay.
So to be determined.
And it would be another advertisement for the concierge program.
Right. And otherwise, there will be a follow-up to the open house, right?
It would be.
And to the,
Whatever we learn,
yeah,
the feedback.
Yep.
So the 9th, yeah, okay.
So
But
there
it
will
may
be
shift.
anyways.
If Richard comes back and says they're going to have something on the 20th, so
Yeah.
we'll move it. But
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
seeing no other business, motion to adjourn, moved by Nate, second by Sue. All in favor? Thanks, Steve, for joining us. Appreciate it. And the meeting's adjourned.
I'll
Okay.
just let Tech know.